Welcome to the first ever Rant of the Week. Now, we're going to be talking about DLC. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Mostly the bad and the ugly, though, because after all, this is a rant. That being said, DLCs are a mixed bag, and it's hard to find an adequate place to start. Let's start with the good. The optimist in me wants to believe in the potential of DLC. And so here's what should happen in a perfect world. Digital distribution has revolutionized the gaming industry. By slashing the price of shelf space, it allows studios to put out contents more regularly, and it's now a vast majority of the game's legal players that actually patch their games. DLCs were intended to be small expansions, offering new and original content that studios simply could not afford to put out during their development cycle. It's a lot of hard work to release a game, so the DLC model allows companies that are strapped for cash to release games at the end of their development cycle, and subsequently continue the development by offering DLCs to enhance the gaming experience. If this were the way things work, it'd be a great excuse for companies to offer prolonged support on their titles. Although the optimist in me wants to believe this, he's crushed by the reality of the gaming industry, namely the practices of some of the biggest DLC culprits. Rather than releasing unpolished games for reduced prices, certain companies are releasing them full price, and then releasing DLC, making a $40 game cost sometimes upwards of $100 or $200. Day one DLC is an insult to the client. It's a clear message that the company has deliberately segmented their content to ensure that you, the gamer, pay the maximum amount of money for that title. Without their DLC, certain games are just about as bland as tofu-flavored-oatmeal. Not to beat a dead horse, but this practice has gotten out of control. It's now widely spread, and it's not only sucking the life and flavor out of well-known titles, but ruining companies' reputations, without their even grasping the irreparable damage that they're doing to their franchises. It's one thing if you offer a fully playable game for free with unlocks for cash, or if you release mini expansions, but it's another thing completely to willingly withhold content on release to gouge your players. Or even worse, you release god-awful DLC and misadvertise it as an expansion, which seems to be the direction a lot of studios are going. Now, what has sparked this particular rant is Paradox Interactive. The company that was once in touch with its player base and offered affordable yet broken on release games seems to be following the trend of abuse of DLC. After having put up with botched releases for 10 years, I finally get a playable game from Paradox in the form of Crusader Kings 2. Within a few hours of the release, they're already selling DLC in the form of dynasty shields and new skins. A few weeks in, they released character design, which is obviously an essential feature to any dynastic warfare game. And so we arrived to the Republic DLC. I had been waiting for a trade game on an EU3 type platform for so long. After seeing screenshots of this promised expansion on Steam, I buy the DLC for $10, only to find out that they segmented the content into 3 distinct DLCs, withholding the expansion's music and skins, which were advertised on Steam as being a part of the Republic, mind you. I swallow my pride and log into the game with a bitter taste in my mouth. However, I quickly come to the realization that it's completely unplayable on Windows 7 64-bit. Let me get this straight. You're going to release a broken DLC for $10, segment it, nerf all my saves rendering them unplayable, and keep the countries that everyone's been clamoring for, the pagan countries, locked. You can't on one hand boast profits and growth, while on the other hand hiding behind the mantle of being an underfunded indie developer. But I digress. There's still a special place in my heart for Paradox Interactive and its developers. Nonetheless, for being guilty of the triumvirate of DLC abuse, withholding content, day one DLC, and lack of QA testing, yet again, the final verdict is that Paradox is our culprit of the week. But they are far from being the only ones that do this. And so long as we, the consumer, put up with it, they're going to keep getting away with it. Has DLC been kind to you? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe.